I think if I've been keeping track. Okay, I'd like to call the Environmental Control Committee meeting to order at 8:22 p.m. Present are committee members Heeman, Glassburn, Williamson, Council President Jones, Council members Broussard, Kelly, Limpert, and Schumann, Directors Gallo, Glonner, Kopfer, Lieber, and City Engineer Mr. DeFranco, and guests. We're here tonight to discuss 2020-93, which is a resolution authorizing the city engineer to solicit statements of qualifications, SOQs, from qualified professional engineers to provide engineering services for the South Intercept Equalization Tank project, and further authorizing the mayor, following approval by the Board of Control, to enter into a contract with the firm selected in the request for qualifications RFQ process and declaring an emergency. I believe, Director Lieber, would you like to start, or is that how you'd prefer?
Madam Chairwoman, may I,
yes.
may I just say, due to a possible conflict, I will abstain from participating on 93. If we resume on any other matters in the committee, I will rejoin.
Thank you, Mr. Glassburn. Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This ordinance will allow us to solicit statements of qualifications from engineers that are specifically qualified to design and oversee construction of equalization tank type projects and sanitary sewer projects. So we intend to follow the process as outlined in our local codes and ordinances, Chapter 112. And also our city engineer ultimately will be managing this particular consultant. So just as a reminder, council's probably aware, but this particular project they'll be designing is an underground EQ tank that will serve the South Interceptor and will relieve that sewer line from flow during heavy rain events. The wastewater treatment plant in their 5-year capital plan had budgeted about $200,000 in 2020 to begin engineering, and about $2 million, and Carrie can correct me if I'm wrong, in 2021 for construction. So this will be the first piece to get the engineer on board. Our city engineer's estimate for construction is more like 1.5 million at this time, but we do have just kind of a general estimate for planning purposes in our budget, and that was taken into account when the sewer rates were recently established for the coming next years. So really this is allowing us to find that consultant that will be really leading the design efforts for this project. Mr. DeFranco is here. If he can add anything that, especially on a technical basis, that council might be interested in hearing, I'm happy to make way to his comments.
I appreciate that, Director. So let's back up just real quick and explain the financing again. Which part is for planning, which part is for construction. Just sometimes I can't write and unless I'm at the same time.
And the broad planning estimates were 200,000 for engineering and 2 million for construction. So, okay. And we're not saying it will cost just that, but it was what we had reserved for planning purposes as a planning level estimate.
So the intention in this legislation is to spend only the approximate 200,000 for planning.
Correct.
And then we will discuss at a later date the 2 million for the construction, or we'll be giving up that right when we disregard the RFQ process.
We will certainly come back to council when the project would be going out to bid, and that would be the time when council would pass a separate ordinance that would allow us to solicit bids for construction.
Okay. I want to ask, let's see, I wrote down, I tried to, read the 76 page plan after my dental work today. I was a little slow reading today. So if you could explain, please, the geography that this project is encompassing, the South Intercept. I think we may understand what it is, but I'd like to, completely have it outlined for us, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The South Interceptor is generally south of Lorraine. includes the south half of North Olmsted, as well as parts of Olmsted Township.
Okay. All right, so this is in fact the property area that we've been discussing with regard to the ODOT parcels and then these potential school properties. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know, Director or Mr. DeFranco, where we are with regard to either the purchase or donation or however that's going to shake out with either of those properties? We have responses, we have more information, or we don't?
I can take that one. So we've had follow-up communication with ODOT where they reconsidered an earlier concern they had about retaining that parcel for their environmental purposes. And now it is still being discussed in their legal department whether they will whether they will give it to the city as a donation or whether they will maintain it and then enter into a long-term lease with the city. So that was the latest I heard from ODOT, was a discussion internally as to what they thought was of greater benefit to the state, whether it be to retain some control and enter a lease or dispose of the property in its entirety. So we're still waiting for some clarity on that one.
How long do you think that might take? Just a guesstimate, because I'm sure you don't work for ODOT. We don't know what they do, so I understand. But if you could give me, some indication, or the committee some indication as to what they said. They will call you back in a couple weeks, a month.
I asked if it would potentially be resolved in a few months, and my contact indicated it would probably be longer than a few months. That said, they felt that we had reached a certain level of agreement that we could proceed with our next steps of engaging a design professional, that they felt confident that we could come to an arrangement that would meet all parties' interest. But I was just told, the only thing I was told is probably more than a few months on their part.
Okay. And then what about the pursuit of the properties from these North Olmsted City Schools?
They have generally been favorable to enter into the conversation. Most recently, we've been sending a document for review back and forth from our law director to their legal counsel that would grant the city a right of entry to conduct whatever testing, environmental evaluation that we feel would be necessary in order to ensure that this is a acceptable and proper location for this project.
Okay, and you can't answer this question probably, but with regard to those conversations, do we, feel that that's also going to be, a purchase or a donation, or like what kind of glean do you think you have that you could share with us on that? And I know it's two sides of the story, so maybe you can't.
Right. And I don't know, I would hate to speak out of turn. I'm not sure if that private conversation is something that I could share at this moment, but
It's okay.
I'm very willing to work with the city. And if I can clear it with our law director that that's public information, I'll be happy to share it with you.
Yeah, you don't have to right now. I didn't really think that you could share, but sometimes you kind of, have a little bit of a feeling that it's going pretty well. So, okay.
That is going pretty well. They've been very responsive to the conversation with the city.
Okay. And so then, give me 1 second to check off some of so in this study, there is the South Interceptor study that was done in June 2019. It's 76 pages. Can you or Engineer DeFranco go over, please, the other alternatives and options? I believe there were 5 in total. And, what were the pro or con of another one? From what think I'm reading anyway, it looks like this is actually the most expensive of them at an estimated cost. And that may not be true. I may have misread all that because I was just going quick. So if you could share with us what the other options were briefly.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, I didn't prepare. I don't have the report in front of me.
It's okay. It's not the most interesting thing. Would you then, Mr. DeFranco, follow up, with emails, please, to all of the council? And I do think, just to let you know, Director, I think that this is, I'll be calling a meeting next week just to actually get I think that there are a lot of questions because of the size of this project, and based on, the ODOT and the property parcel status, it doesn't sound like, 1 week would be a real danger to the project if we waited for some clarification on some things. So, Mr. DeFranco, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us an overview of the 5 scenarios, their pro and con, and then cost structure. I do know that this was scenario number 5, and it was the one that obviously you're pursuing. This choice of the project did also have some concerns. It wasn't without concerns. So if you could address what some of those concerns were to this option number 5, that would be helpful.
Sure.
Okay.
Right now? Oh, I thought
Well,
in an
if
email.
you can tell us now. If not, a follow-up is, I'm good with that. You said sure, and I'm like, okay. We can wait for that, really. And it's 8:30 already, and I know we've got a committee of the whole coming up. So that would be a question that I would also want to know is, what would be those the few things that were not favorable to this option number 5.
Okay.
All right, and then what I did also want to know from Director Kopfer, Director Lieber, unless you have something you'd like to add along the questions I've had. Okay, Director Kopfer, if you are with us, if you could share, please, and this may be a follow-up also that you'll have to circulate to us, the accounting for the wastewater treatment plant fund. Obviously, we've just purchased, another truck. We've had some things come out of there that maybe weren't exactly anticipated. Would you be able to provide us with a budget overview where we stand to date on that account? And then also the projected revenue for the 2021 year? Unless you want to address it now. I'm fine with that also.
I will have to get that to you.
Okay, that's fine, because it was part of, that was one of the things I wanted to look at when I asked for the regular, could I get an updated budget, but I still haven't gotten that. But if you could at least provide us one for this particular fund, it would be very helpful, because obviously 2021 is yet to come. And that's where the bulk of the project lies, the money.
Get the end of June though, so there is an updated budget that you got. So the budget, other than the last transaction that we had, the last transfer ordinance is all in there. So,
but I know we keep going back and forth about that. If you could run a report for me and throw it on a flash drive, I'd be really appreciative of that. Trying to track it line by line myself from my budget in December in the binder is difficult. And I think we should be able to produce that. So I think those were all of my questions. Do I have, obviously, committee member Glassburn, is not participating. Ms. Williamson, do you have any questions to ask?
I think you've covered just about every possible question that there is. So no, not at this time.
Good thing. Thank you. All right, any questions from council, please? Okay, seeing none, I'd actually, I'm going to recommend and make a motion that we hold this in committee until just next week. I'll set another committee meeting for that, so that we can all round up the information that we've asked for, review it. And I would urge everyone, if you have the opportunity, to at least glance at this 76-page study. Its graphs and charts are colorful and attractive, and a lot of hard work went into it. So, but there is a lot of good information in there, so that when you get the collection of follow-up I think it'll make a little bit more sense to everybody. And obviously, this is a project that we need to have. I just want to make sure, because of the cost, we're really looking at all of the details correctly. So I'd like to make that motion. Councilman Williamson?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I'll conclude the meeting at 8:37. Thank you.